Hey everyone, welcome to the Permission Portal with Paulmarq and Lass. I'm Paulmarq.
And I'm Laz. Let's open the portal.
Today we are offering permission to want what you want without shame. I tend to talk about completely loving and accepting yourself without guilt or shame, and this is a little different. Wanting what you want. So many people can't even entertain the idea. I have asked people the question, in a perfect world, with no limitations, what would you want? And so, Laz, what
Mm.
would you want?
Well, I have written this down, so I'm just going to share. What I want in a perfect world for me with no limitations is I'm making $10 million a year. I live in a house in the lake that's at least 7,500 square feet. We have a garage in the back that's on the canal that holds the boats, holds the jet skis, got a bunch of tight whips outside. I'm serving people in a powerful way, coaching, have multiple businesses. I do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. And I have the relationship I have with my wife now. My relationship with my kids continues to get better. That is the 100,000 foot view. Of course, the relationships with my friends and family are super dope.
When it comes to manifesting, it's important to be able to see things in as much detail as
Specifics.
possible.
Yep.
And not everyone is a visual person. So sometimes it's having an idea of what it feels like or what it
Mhm.
sounds like as well. But to be as detailed as you can, your manifestation, so that you can actually feel that happening. Are there some things that you've been told you shouldn't want? Let's dive into that.
Mm. Yeah, of course. And when was I told these things? Like, let's recently or a long time ago or what? Or just ever?
Just in general. And
Yeah.
so, what was the thing that you were thinking about, and who told you? What were you told? Who told you?
You shouldn't want to drink alcohol, or you shouldn't want to smoke weed. You shouldn't have
Hmm.
sex before you're married. You know,
I broke that one.
me too. Yeah, me too. So many things. Like you can marry outside of your race, but you shouldn't.
That's interesting. That's a juicy
It's a
one.
yeah, that one gets deep. This is
Happens.
a projection. This is an assumption that's implied, but I've also some people have also said that directly.
Well, yeah.
You should marry a black girl. Okay.
So this happens with cultures as well. So it's not just the concept of race, it's the concept of culture. My family is from Chicago. I was raised here in Arlington for the most part, but my family's from Chicago. And we actually had sections of town that were like Little Italy. We had Little Mexico. We had Jewtown, all those places. And these communities were set up so that they didn't have to mix and mingle. You were welcome to go by and visit, but
Yeah.
there was this microcosm that was developed where people stayed in their own neighborhood. And I remember having friends from New York, there they also talked about your neighborhood, or my friends from LA are really big
Yeah.
on
Good.
neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to even want to be outside of your neighborhood, or to want to communicate or spend time with somebody that's not from your neighborhood.
Mhm.
And there are lots of movies that are written where it's like the outsider comes in, even going as far back as, well, Greece comes to the top of my head. But there are a lot of movies that are prevalent in Black culture that have the idea of somebody coming in and then like, what are you doing? You're the new guy here. Why are you
Yeah.
here? And I think that that's important to know that we are in the permission portal. We're actually giving people permission to step outside of what they normally do.
The echo chamber, in my experience, is not
Mhm.
conducive for growth all around. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
All around.
The best thing you can do to open your mind is to travel.
I've heard this.
If you're traveling, then you're going to see people in their own environments
Mhm.
and you'll be the outsider. And so knowing what it's like to be the outsider will, in theory, make you more sensitive and more empathetic to the outsider that comes into your space.
Agreed. I had this experience 12 schools from first to 12th grade, moving around a lot, mostly in Texas. First high school, one white boy on the football team. The high school I graduated from, I graduated with 7 other black people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting
Interesting.
because in school, I switched schools a couple of times, but not as much because we pretty much were stable. I
Yeah.
do remember that my brother was in the military and he moved around a lot, but they also made sure that his daughters were in a space where they didn't have to move so much. I went to a school that was like a neighborhood school for first grade. I went to an accelerated school for second through fourth. And then I traveled and went to a whole new school because I was in a different state
Hmm.
for fifth. And then I came back for sixth and went to another private school. So I'm used to being in the private school atmosphere.
Hmm.
However, there were times that when I was in the accelerated school, it was a dark cookie. There were so many people of the same complexion, and we all had that same atmosphere. You know, we all had
Hmm.
that same background, and our moms would connect and talk and whatever. And then I went to private schools, and it was in another city and it was pretty much lily white. And
Yeah.
so I would look around and I would be the only dark chip in the cookie.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was interesting to be in that space. For sixth grade, I was in a space where it was a little bit more open. So there were like, I think there were six of us in a class of 20, 25. For that, it was really interesting. And especially bringing it back to permission to want what you want. I went to Catholic schools. So you're told what you're supposed to want, what you're not, what you're supposed to do. That's very regimented.
Oh yeah.
And I was always the free thinker. I remember one time I got in trouble because there was a reading assignment. And you know how in elementary you got those little, they call them magazines, but they were like little flyers that had like small articles on what was going on in the world. And I remember I was
Mhm.
a faster reader than some of the people in my class. So I read and I kept on going because I went to what I was interested in. And I got in trouble because we were doing this round robin thing. And somebody stopped reading and the teacher, I remember her name was Sister Shirley. Girl, she was a Dominican nun. And I can tell you, when I had the idea that I was going to be a nun, that was the year I wanted to be a nun.
Okay.
But I wanted to be a Franciscan nun because we had Dominican and Franciscan nuns at that school. And
Okay.
the Franciscan nuns were prettier and had more fun. And
Heard.
so I was like, I want to be with those. I want to be part of that
Yeah.
sisterhood. And so Sister Shirley called me out and was like, "It's your turn to read." And I was like, "I'd rather not." And she was like, "You will read." And I was like, "Well, I'd really rather not." And she's like, "You're not paying attention." And she waddles over to me and she starts pointing on my page and just like speaking and yelling. And I was like, And so I had enough and I was like, look, bitch, I said I don't want to read.
You said that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Oh, that's some movie shit. You told the nun, look,
Yeah.
bitch.
And then it went on from there. So there was a part, well,
Oh shit.
and I think the bitch was forgivable. It was when I told her she could go to hell
Oh,
that
that's
I
yeah.
got
The
sent to the
ultimate
principal's
insult.
office. Yeah. Telling a nun to go to hell.
Yeah. Woo.
But it was one of those things where to be in such a regimented space where you're told you have to do this, you have to do that. And I had moved forward from I was moving faster than the class. And I did not want to be looped into that. It's like just
Yep.
let me be in my own little world. Let me read this thing. I can get through it really fast and then maybe do something else. And to be pigeonholed or for her to attempt to pigeonhole me
Yep.
because I was not going to have it.
Nope.
And of course, my mother was very, let's just say, she was very upset with me after that.
I could imagine. Woo.
So, yeah,
Well,
I have calmed down in my adult years. I don't lash out like that often, but it's
yeah,
still in there.
of course it is. We didn't know what safety was back then, and my
Exactly.
anger was protecting it.
Yeah. And I think it's because I had moved around enough and my mother would talk to me about things. So the power to choose. My
Mhm.
mother did give me a lot of the illusion that I got to choose. And I will say the illusion
They can
because
give you carte blanche.
no,
Yeah.
she would,
Awesome.
and it was so funny because she would do things to say, well, okay, then I'm going to let you do what you want to do. And I'm like, all right. And then she'd turn around and be like, oh, come on, you know? And so I was like, I thought we had made the agreement that I was going to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so that actually grew later when I was in high school. And I had so much more freedom than my other friends because my mother knew that I was going to do what I was going to do. And so there was nothing that she could do to stop me from doing it. And a lot of other, my friends' mothers would ask her, how can you be like that? Because Paulmark's all over the place. And she's like, he's hard-headed. So I just pray a lot.
Mm.
All right. You know, let him go. Let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Huh. Because I was told that I had to be reading with the class and I had to be doing what the class was doing. And I didn't want to. And
Yeah.
I wanted that power to do what I felt like doing.
Yeah.
Because, in elementary, you're pretty much in the same room. And then the teacher tells you it's time to pull out this book or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was some times that I just didn't feel like doing it.
Hmm.
And so I would do things or I would like have the book out and be doodling on something else. I would get sneaky and have something underneath the book and just be sitting there and just be like looking like I'm reading. And even when it was like free time to read or to work on homework, I'm like, I feel like doing something else right now. I've been sitting in this chair for too long. So,
Most kids. Yeah.
but it's interesting because for the longest time, I was the worst acting do-gooder in the class. So I was part of the team that was the A students, the ones that were praised for doing well. And I was also the one that would finish early and then go strike up a conversation. So my actual number grades were pretty high, and my citizenship grades were always low.
Oh, they're too hard to control.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't control this one. So
Yeah.
citizenship grades suck. Whatever.
And I was like, I'm doing what I want to do. So this is something that it's not just wanting it, it's actually doing it. I took it a step further. So I was actually doing what I wanted to do.
Well, you can't do it if you don't even allow yourself the permission to want it.
Exactly. And so
That's it.
when people are talking to me or when I'm dealing with a client and asking them, a lot of times they're in a situation, they're like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And it's like, well, in a perfect world, what would you be doing? And a lot of people don't know, or they haven't given themselves permission to even think about that. They
Nope.
are so stuck in in the concrete and what they see. And you have to have that kind of faith to be able to envision yourself doing something. So that brings up, we talked about in envisioning. Have you ever had difficulty envisioning yourself with
I have.
something, doing something?
I have had difficulty with it before.
What happened? So what was that story?
Well, if a person does not, for me, my experience is if a person hasn't gotten to the place where they actually feel worthy of something, like for real, or deserving of it, or shit, even still parts of you think it's not possible and it can't happen, it's a long shot. It will be hard to imagine it and actually get the image in your mind and be able to get your emotion, your feeling behind it, and then incorporating things like taste and touch. I mean, if you can't even see it, how can you start to imagine yourself tasting something or touching something or what it feels like swinging on the boat and you hit somebody else's wake and some water splashes in your face and the sun is beaming down on you, you got sunglasses on, the wind's blowing, being able to feel all of that, the feel the emotion of what it feels like, seeing it in your mind, but also feeling the water splash on your face. Yeah. How can you do that if you don't think it's possible?
Right.
So yeah, I've had a hard time envisioning, but now when I envision things, it's to that extent.
So what did you do to get yourself into that space of worthiness, openness?
Cried a lot.
Okay.
I cried a lot. I mean, oh, what have I done to get myself into that place? Forgiveness, living from a state of
Hmm.
grace, but one, the biggest thing is forgiving yourself for the past. And a lot of times
Hmm.
I thought I was mad at other people, but I
Hmm.
was blaming other people for my own mistakes, for my own actions. And my anger was a projection towards them, but I was really mad at myself for how I showed up,
Hmm.
but I wasn't taking responsibility for it. So when I did, I was able to release that, forgive myself, and keep it moving.
Excellent. Yeah, I cried a lot too, but my tears were because things didn't work how I thought they should. So the way my brain works, I would figure out these things in my perfect world
Mm-hmm.
and set up like a whole domino effect. And sometimes I skipped a step, or sometimes there was somebody else involved and they didn't get the memo of what I was doing. And so I would cry when a calculated risk didn't turn out the way it should.
Mm-hmm.
Have a very strong sense of, they call it delusion, drag delusion. But for me, it's more of gay audacity. And so I'm a theater major. And so it's like, even if I can't make it happen, I can make it look like it happened. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
constantly in a space of, well, yeah, I think I can do this. And then I get into a space where it's like, I didn't really think this all the way through. And
Mm-hmm.
that young Paulmarq was doing that all the time. And I've learned to actually think about it and play through it a little bit more as I've matured. But I remember there was a story about me. I didn't get in trouble for this, but my mother was completely exasperated with this. There was a fly in the house, and I didn't want to kill it, and I didn't want my mother to kill it. So what I did was I wrote it a little sign, fly exit, and I cut a hole in our screen door.
Oh shit. Nah. I would have got my ass toe up. Toe up. Nah, you getting whipped. Nah.
Luckily, I didn't throw out the little piece of screen, so we could do some screen. My mom did some screen repair or whatever.
Okay.
Actually, she called my brother's friend Mickey, who came up and did it. And Mickey thought, like, he still tells that story of the fly exit because he lived down the street. And when he came back, he was like, what did you do? You know,
Mm,
because my mom was like, I need this fixed. I don't know what this boy has just done. He was probably high, but he was just laughing the entire time. And he still brings that up. But it's like, you and your fly exit, it made sense,
yeah.
and he could understand how to a 6-year-old that made sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So my mom let me get away with a lot of things because she could see that I had logic my way into it. So, were there any times that you felt or were made guilty for wanting more or different?
Yeah.
Say
So,
more.
well, wanting more, this, so maybe you've
And
heard something like this, okay?
right.
When we go in this store, don't ask for nothing.
Too,
Don't
yeah.
even don't even fix your mouth to ask me for anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one
So
is the
it's
one. It's the one that comes up immediately.
so that's interesting because growing up, my mom said that a couple of times, but my mom was also one that if I could show her a bargain, she was like, "Oh, that's a deal." So she taught me how to shop
Uh,
for things. And so all I had to do was say, "Look what's on sale." And then she's like, "Do you really want it?" And then I would get it. So it was really good. Now, I didn't have other siblings in the house, so it was just usually me and her. Well, they called it spoiled, but I would say I was given more options.
mhm.
And we would do things like that. But I remember there were times that I would at a grocery store, I wouldn't put it in the cart. I would pick it up and hold it and walk around with it and wait until she was in line. And then it would just slowly end up on the conveyor belt.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And she would be like, "What is that?" And then I knew after a while if I could convince her that it was on sale, then it was okay. Or if I could convince her, and that's a thing that I've carried forward with the children in my life. It's like, let's go, let's look around. And if you can convince me that it's a good deal, sure.
Yeah.
And I also, when I have my godchildren, I will take them out and I will be like, because they love to go shopping. And so I tell them, do not ask to go shopping. We will go shopping if I decide we're going shopping. And I tell them that and depending on where we go, they get one, two, or three things. And I teach them how to decide between what it is
Mhm.
because children, they're now getting a little bit older and understanding, but I started this when they were real little because I wanted them to understand that everything is not free. And I also
Yeah.
wanted them to understand that I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart.
Yeah.
So if they would say, when are we going shopping? And I was like, you have 3 times to ask, and then the answer is no.
Mm.
Now, if you're with me, the possibility of going for ice cream, going shopping, whatever, I love to spoil the kids. If they are harping on one thing, then it's like, okay, you know the rule. And they're able to get that. I was like, if you really want it, then you'll just be patient. And generally, it only takes like 30 minutes because I want them to understand,
Hmm.
that I'm still the adult in charge.
Mm. Okay. Cool.
But I will say for me, go ahead. What comes up?
No, the one that I said about the store.
Hmm.
But also, I think
Okay.
there was some times I can think back to things I got things that I asked for, but not the version I asked for. So I shamed
Mm.
myself or made myself guilty. I made
Hmm.
myself guilty for wanting more when I'm like, this isn't what I asked for. I'm grateful that I got this, but it's not what I asked for at all.
Hmm.
And yeah,
So I had to have conversations with my mother about that. And it was interesting because it's not that I was ungrateful. And a lot of times, especially when you have older parents or when extended family is around, they will look from the outside and say, that child's so ungrateful. And it's like,
mhm.
this is not what I asked for. You're giving me wonderful things, and yes, thank you. But this is not what I asked for.
Yeah, it's like I should just shut up and not say anything, which is
Exactly.
at least that's how I felt when I was a kid. Shut up and
And
don't say
that's
anything.
and that's how resentments are built.
I can think three specific times with three specific things right now that I did that to myself. Yep.
And so to be in a space where you're like, well, I was actually hoping for this, and to be able
Yeah.
to discuss it. Or when you've had the discussion, because this happened once, it never happened again. I used to go to summer camp, and there was this time I was going for 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks. And so I had said, I want horseback riding the first 2 weeks, and then I don't want it the second 2 weeks. My mom, being generous, gave me horseback riding for all the weeks. And I was like,
Nah.
that's not what I said. And so then I'm there and I'm signed up for it. And I was like, well, I'm not going. I don't want to go to the stables this time. I want to explore other things.
Hmm.
And then the camp director on the next to the last day came and found me. It's like, you're going to have to go to the stable and spend all day today so that you can get your hours in. And I was
Right.
like, that just give her a refund. But again, I was 9 at the time. So not them not allowing a 9-year-old to have the kind of autonomy that I was allowed at home.
Yeah.
And them saying, look, we were paid for this. We need to make sure that you
We're
get
doing what your mom paid us to do.
exactly. And so there are
We
times
got to deal with her more than
I
you.
know.
She dropped the paper. Yeah.
And there were also times where I would come up with a plan or come up with a solution. And the adult was like, well, we have to talk to your mother. It's like, I'm here right now. I'm the one that it affects. But they weren't
That's
used
the
to
grown
that.
up.
Yeah.
That's the
So, but I do remember that there was a time where in my household, if you complained about something, it became your job. So my mom used to used to do all the laundry and everything. And I complained about something that bled in the laundry. And she's like, oh, we can fix that.
mm,
And then she taught me how to do my own laundry, kicking and screaming, but she did teach me how to do my own laundry.
mm.
And then later on, that became my chore that I got paid to do,
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where it's like, if you're going to complain, you think you can do it better, go ahead and do better. And so that was something that was ingrained in me early on. And I will say also, even in cooking, my mom would do things where she would call it fricasseeing things. And you know what fricassee means? Pour
I
some
don't.
mushroom soup over it.
Okay.
She had so much stuff because there was a can of cream of mushroom. She would make anything and then pour some cream of mushroom over it and be like, here it is. And I'd be like, I don't like this. And then it was all about, well, finish your plate. And I don't want to finish my plate. There's certain things that I'm still a really picky eater. Like I'm an adventurous eater, but I'm picky about
But now
where
you're
things are.
ungrateful and there's kids starving in other countries and you should be grateful because
Exactly.
they don't have food. So you should finish it even though you don't like it or that you're full.
And what I would do, because again, this is the kid that wanted the fly to have an exit. I would be like, well, let's box it up and send it to them.
Mom, I don't want it. Let's send it to them.
I'm like, I'll share.
That's
Yeah.
freaking trump card. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Parents like, what? I
I'm
don't have no comeback for that.
like, well,
None.
let's box
What
it
what
up.
what she say?
That was when it was like she would give up at that point.
She's like, oh,
But it was like it was one of those things
that sounds
that
like some shit
growing
that
up,
would come up. My daughter would be like, well, then send it to him.
I'm like, okay, that's fine. I would go as far as to be like, well, let's make a box. And I was like, and I don't like this. We can send that to there.
What is going on?
Yeah, I don't think I could have had any other mother. She was special. Yeah. And
Yeah,
if I had
I've
any other
known
black mother, I would have been an abused child.
her.
Completely.
Yeah, big time. All that would have got popped.
Okay. Huh.
Okay.
So, has there ever been, and I guess we kind of went into it, but the idea of having shame for knowing what you wanted, and like I said, I've had times where I was even I was belittled for knowing what I wanted.
Yeah,
My intelligence was insulted because I was speaking for myself. And it's like, oh, well, you're too young. You wouldn't know anything. And I was like, excuse me,
mm,
I'm in this body. I know me.
yeah,
And it's even happened a couple of times in dealing with, I dealt with that at the urgent care a couple of weeks ago when I go in and say, okay, this is going on. And they're like, we think it might be blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, no, no. This is what's going on. I just need the meds for this. And it was a nurse practitioner. So I know that she was looking for something. And I was like, I don't have time for all that. You know?
for knowing. Have I ever had shame for not knowing what I wanted
Hmm.
or knowing what I want?
Have you ever been made to feel shame?
For knowing what I want?
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
I see a little smile. What's going on there?
plenty of times with. I remember having a conversation probably 2017, 2018, possibly same sort of conversation in 2019, just sharing things that I wanted to change with my in my relationship with my wife
Hmm.
and getting certain things said to me that felt like and seemed like pushback,
Hmm.
based on what I was saying I wanted, and it should be this way. Like, that don't that don't feel good to me. It's not what I'm. You don't understand. And at least that was my only language back then. Whatever.
Right.
Like, yeah, I remember when I was a kid. I'm sitting in my room, and mom rolls up in there, and she said, "You been sleeping with that girl?" I was 17. I don't know what had happened right before this. Something, and that's what she asked me, and I said, "Yeah." She said, "I knew you been acting mannish." In my mind, I'm like, "Well, I am mannish. I'm 17." I didn't say that out loud though. I'm for real. I didn't say it out loud. I'm not
Right.
gonna do that. In my mind, I am mannish. I'm literally 17 years old, and I'm about to be 18. So whatever. That's what I said inside of my mind.
I have
And then
never
she
been
told me,
accused of being
she told,
mannish.
yeah, she told me to, yeah, I bet not. Yeah.
Never.
And then she told me that I couldn't go over there. She couldn't come over here. So I was like, all right. So
Hmm.
I never drove my truck over there.
Okay.
But, like we figured out ways.
Right.
Look, if you are ashamed to for wanting what you want, at least as a
Mhm.
kid, this is what I my experience was. Me as a kid experiencing shame for wanting what I wanted or something that I didn't even want, but other
Mhm.
people were like, "Don't do it." So it made me curious about what are you talking about? Why are you so against this? Alcohol, weed,
Mhm.
drugs, different things, and those things being shamed so hardcore made me more curious. And when I dipped in, I fucking dove in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
That is so
I
funny
went.
because
I had these times where I was like dive in and then pull back out.
see, those things were so available that I was bored with them. Hence, I never tried. I tried to smoke once. I remember when I was young and sneaking out going clubbing. Actually, I didn't have to sneak out, but I was sneaking into the clubs. And my friend Kelly and I, we had gone to this place because my friend knew this smoke shop and was always getting her clothes there. And so Kelly and I went, there was like three of each color, I want to say, maybe two, but I think it was three. And Kelly and I went together and bought that box. And we decided that as we were going clubbing, there were other kids who were smokers who were like, just taking up space when we wanted to dance. And so we decided what we would do is we would light them and not actually smoke them, but we would dance with them because people would move if you have a cigarette in your hand.
Mhm.
So that's how we made room for ourselves to dance at the club. And of course, this is back in the day when people were still smoking inside the club and all
Oh
the
yeah,
other
yeah,
stuff.
a long
Yeah.
time ago.
So much. But as far as drinking, as far as, smoking pot or whatever, it was always available to me.
Mhm.
So I actually didn't like it. I developed a distaste for it because I saw what happened.
You mean
And
as a kid?
yeah, as a kid, like I had brothers that were in college when I was coming up, or actually, my oldest brother had graduated college the weekend I was born. And so to be around him and his friends, there was always pot, there was always beer. Jimmy says I probably had a contact high the first 5 years of my life, you know? And so the idea of it, like I was telling somebody I knew how to sort seeds. When you're doing the whole thing, you have to
Yeah,
break
break
up the
the bond.
buds and I knew how to do that at an early age. I
Sorting
rolled my
seeds,
first, yeah, I
swag,
rolled I
a
rolled my first joint when I was 7. Did I
Mexican
smoke
break.
it?
Yeah,
No, I didn't smoke it, but I knew how to do it. And so, and again, it wasn't that I was, and I think it's because I was around it that it was not attractive to me.
yeah,
And so it's like, well, I can do that. And I'm still like that sometimes. I'll get on these kicks where I will go grocery shopping. It's just like I need to have a bunch of whatever. And then once I have it, I'm like, okay, it's here. And then I'm no longer interested in it.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think that that's an important thing to know. And when we create these spaces of just say no,
yeah,
we're actually making it more attractive.
yep,
you know and it was even when it came to my sexuality and some other things, my mom was just like, well, when you find the right person, things work. And that was pretty much it. I was able to explore and whatever. And she said that she purposely did not, like, when we had the talk, she answered whatever questions I had and did not go any further.
yeah.
And so, the talk about relationships was, well, when you love somebody, you spend more time with them. When it came to where babies come from, she stuck to the clinical stuff. And so, although I could put that together, there wasn't the projection. There wasn't the insertion of this is what has to happen.
Okay,
She
Got
was
it.
pretty smart. She was pretty smart about that.
That's what's up. Was there something you ever wanted as a child that you still?
You know, there was something that I still, and it's interesting when I am around Christmas time or around a birthday, I used to get whatever I wanted whenever I wanted it.
Mhm.
And so the month prior, there was this whole buildup of, well, you can't get anything because who knows what you're going to get for Christmas or for your birthday. And I was like, okay, bet, you know? And my little ticker tape in my brain was like, okay, I better see this, this, and this as I'm opening up gifts. Because now I'm like, okay, if you say I'm going to get it, I might get it later, then I better actually get it later. And so as I was opening gifts, there was a time for Christmas that all of my friends got Cabbage Patch dolls, and I wanted one so bad.
Mhm.
And my niece was here. She got a Cabbage Patch doll. I did not get one. And so all my friends of different ages had Cabbage Patch dolls, and
Mhm.
I never got one. Even adults that I knew had Cabbage Patch dolls. And my mother's like, that I was like, that is the line you're drawing? Of all the things that I have been given because I asked for it, that is the line you're drawing.
Mm.
And we had such a row about that. It went on for weeks.
You
But
still want one? What's kept you
so
from grabbing one?
I think the idea of now I don't need it because it doesn't work with my decor. I think the idea of it being a gift, like that moment has sailed. So I don't still think about wanting one, but I still think about I asked for it and I didn't get it.
Okay.
So that's where it is. It's the whole I was so used to getting everything I asked for,
Mm.
and even things I didn't ask for. And the
Yeah.
one thing that I was very specific about asking for that I did not get.
Heard.
And I was like, and this, and seriously, we talked about it later. Gosh, I was an adult when we actually had the conversation. But we had the conversation about horseback riding when I was in college. And I was like, you know, I'm not your other children. And she realized that she was doing for me all the things that she wished she could have done for her other kids,
Mm.
for the first two. And
That.
she was also giving me the things that she wished that she had been given. And so I'm like, I am so grateful because we had a discussion about that. She's like, you're never grateful. I was like, I am always grateful. I was like, but you're not listening.
Mm.
And so we actually had a discussion, an adult discussion when I was in college about that.
Man, how many parents can actually take that, for their kid to say that and be like,
Hmm.
oh, maybe I get to listen more to what my kid is saying.
Yeah. So I've used this analogy. It's like if you're in a desert and you're dehydrated, you come to somebody and you ask them for water and they mix you a martini. No matter how good that martini is, it's
Mhm.
not going to give you what the water would give you. It also helps in communication. Answer the question that's asked. Was there anything you wanted?
Oh yeah. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted a Lamborghini, the big boy Lambo V12,
Okay.
whatever the new one is. So when I first started wanting Lambo, it was Diablo. Then it went from Diablo to Murcielago to Aventador to now it's the Revuelto.
Mm.
Revuelto.
I remember, did you ever when is it the H3, the Hummer came
Yeah.
out? I remember that for a time I wanted a pink Hummer. Just because,
They got
just
electric ones
because.
now.
Yeah, I know, I know.
They crab walk.
Well, and the reason why I did not get a Hummer was because of the gas, and because it was just so huge, and I was like, I don't want that. Like, my car is pretty
The
small.
H3?
The H, yeah, it was big
I mean,
compared to what I'm
compared to
used
your
to.
car,
Yeah, compared
but
to
it
my
wasn't
car.
no H2 or H1 or Humvee.
So I was like, nope, not doing it.
Got it.
But yeah, my car is tiny, and I,
Yeah,
I I went
I've seen it.
I went for the smallest comfortable car that I could get.
Heard.
Yeah.
Yep. Were you
Uh,
ever told it was selfish to want something or told you were asking for too much?
all the time. That's and actually it wasn't so I was told that by a couple of exes. I was told that by my mom at one point in time, and that's when we had that discussion about, I'm asking for something specific and you're giving me something different. If you gave me what I asked for, we wouldn't be having this conversation,
Yeah.
And actually, that was my answer to the exes who said something like that. I do know that there was a time when I had some friends that lived further away who were like, whatever birthdays came up or whatever, it's like make a list. And part of my family, my extended family, does that because there's a bunch of people there. And so it's like they kind of do a secret Santa where everybody has a list and it's posted, and then one person will choose the person and get what's on their list, a different friend. And she was like, how dare you be so arrogant as to make a list, and I was like, that's not arrogant. It's just, saying what I want, in case, I'm not saying you have to get anything. And I'm not saying you have to get these things.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know these are things that I'm not buying for myself. So if you want to give a good gift, pick off this list.
Here's some examples.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
For me, that I was creating ease for a group of friends and including her in that group.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, how dare you? And she's like, if I'm going to get you, it's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Heard that. The one thing that comes up for me for that question right now is I remember coming home from the gym one time. This is probably 2016, and just being
Mhm.
made basically a shame projection of I only care about myself because I work out how I work out and do how I work and work out and all these different things.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That can be a shame projection too. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
well,
I mean, it was you only care about yourself. Like,
yeah.
okay.
Well, and it's different because you can care about yourself and it's not an only thing. It's I care about me first.
Yeah, of course.
When people are in that duality of either you care about others or you don't, well, no, no, no. I care about me first. And because I'm taking care of me, I now have the bandwidth to care about others.
Yeah, I always kind of had that deep down, but then over time,
So, speaking of caring about others, have you ever put off your desires for someone else's comfort? And did you do it for a payoff? Was there a payoff? And did it go as planned?
yeah, I have. Instead
Mhm.
of pursuing my dream like I really wanted to, I went back to college, and that's not what I really wanted to do. I was people pleasing at the time. My girlfriend and her parents, and yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that didn't last long.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
well, my heart
remember
wasn't in it.
college was interesting because I was ready to go off and start acting, and I was ready to just get out and do my own thing. And my mom said, you were definitely going to college. As a matter of fact, I remember the discussion when there was a day when I decided that I could actually see myself going to college,
Mhm.
And I was like, so I've decided I'm going to go to college. And my mom looked up. She was eating breakfast at the time. She looked
Mm.
up and she said, "I didn't even know that you had an option not to go." And I was like,
Okay.
okay. Well, I've chosen this. And the thing was, I had scholarships coming in and I was looking at locations. I was like, I don't want to go anywhere where it's going to be cold. I had been scouted for Texas A&M and I visited and I was like, oh no, too regimented. I'm not going down here. And so to find a place where I felt comfortable and I was like, this is where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I didn't think
And
Aggie back. No.
my mom was like, no matter what, you were going to some college, even if it's just UTA down the street, you were going. And I'm so glad that I went away to college because had I stayed at UTA, I would have dropped out. I would have flunked out.
Mhm.
But, and my college experience was one of the best experiences. And I made some of the best friends there and friends
Yeah.
that I'm still really, really connected to, and
I stayed.
extended family that I inherited
Yeah.
from college.
I stayed home for college and flunked out.
Hmm.
I
See, see, and
knew
I think
nothing
there's.
about dropping classes. I just stopped going.
Mhm.
It's
Oh
like,
yeah. So here there was, and that there's still a problem with parking. So it's like figuring out where you're going to park and trying to park someplace. Yeah, I would usually try and park someplace closer to where I was going to end my day so that it wasn't a whole lot of going back or having to get someone to drive me back to my car. But it was also because it's a commuter college, the parking spots are full. And like UT Arlington has a racket on people paying for parking, and then there's never any parking spaces. And you can't even get your student ID unless you have a parking sticker. So you pay for the entire calendar year even if you're just there for a semester. So, like, say if I was going for the fall semester, I would still pay for a pass for the whole year. If I go for spring, I would pay for it from the spring until the next fall.
yeah, they're getting that
And
money.
yeah, they're getting it all. And it just made no sense. And even when I taught there, because I went there as faculty, and it was a summer session, and I had to pay for both sessions. So like, I don't even know if I'm going to be teaching the second session yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
If you could have one thing right now,
mhm.
waving a magic wand, what would it be?
There are actually some people that I would bring back from the dead.
All right.
Yeah. So I would want my mother back and completely healed. That's the first one. I have two exes that died, and I would bring back the first one.
Is that it?
That's that's what's at the top of my list. I mean, and then I've got some other things that, my mind is always fleeting. So there are some things I actually want adventures. I would go to Italy with my friend Jody, and we would just go and eat pasta and explore Italy. There are quite a few adventures that I would go on. I got to the place where having stuff just became oppressive. And so now I just want the adventure. I want the experience. The experience of being with people too. There are some people that I just really enjoy hanging out with. And there are several people that I would like to just spend some time with.
Dope.
Hmm. But yeah, Italy with Jody would be great. She wants to do Paris, and I was like, okay, we can do Paris, but we I need to swing by Italy.
Mm. Dope.
Yeah. What about you?
$1 billion in my bank right now. 1 billion. 1 billion because I'm a billionaire. Now I'm set, but
So
it still gives me I'm set as fuck. But now I can take money and go invest and do a lot of different stuff and still play the game of I'm growing this.
so are you prepared to be responsible for $1 billion?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a big thing. When people have these money dreams, the people who are like, I'll be so happy when I win the lottery,
It's
and then
not
they
about
will,
happiness.
and then no,
It's
but
not
I'm
about
saying,
happiness at all.
well, but there are people who
Yeah,
say, I want to win the lottery, whatever, and then they actually do, and they
yeah,
lose everything
yeah. Not me.
because they aren't prepared
I've been preparing,
to have that.
and yeah, the adventures and all the other experiences that come along. I got $1 billion. Let's go.
Okay.
We're going on an adventure for a year. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go, Paulmarq. We go. We taking a jet,
And then we can vlog
a
because
private
I think
jet
that's
at that. You know
that's
what I'm
great.
saying?
Yeah. I
I'm
love
flying,
that.
man. Speed matters.
Mm, exactly.
Anyway,
So, have you ever wanted to try something in the bedroom that you thought you should not want?
yeah. I mean, don't have sex before you marry turns into a whole bunch of bullshit, in my
Hmm.
experience. And when it comes to shame in the bedroom,
Hmm.
like, damn, like, I mean, I never really agreed with it, but yeah, all kinds of shame around that stuff.
We're going to have an entire episode based on that, just on exploring sexuality from the male standpoint. But yeah, I think that's something because a lot of times what I've seen is people who will try and backdoor something in, try and sneak something in that they haven't in the bedroom, yeah, that they haven't actually talked about because there is some shame around it. I have tried pretty much everything. So anything that I would do, I have tried. And there are certain things that I thought I would never do that I've still tried.
Yeah,
And I understand that there are some people who are in this idea of, well, I just need this. I like having the conversation first. And you have to be out of the shame space. You have to have permission to
yeah,
have the conversation so that you can negotiate the agreement rather than just trying to sneak it up on me, or just kind of
yeah,
trying to spring it in the moment. In the moment is not a time to throw out a kink in the
yeah. I mean,
moment,
I've had
you know.
experiences that, man, me and my wife went to a free couples retreat back in
Hmm.
November. And man, that night, like, there's been nights where me and my wife do things where, I mean, my old conditioning is like, yo, you shouldn't be doing that. I'm with my wife too, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Right. Well, and I have a lot of clients who come to me and will share all the things that they can't talk to their wife about. And I was like, all you have to do is bring it up in conversation.
Look, it's
You
either
don't you don't bring it up in the bedroom. You bring it up
you
at,
might be,
at dinner and you
you might,
talk about it.
you might be pleasantly surprised when you move past your fears, fam. Like, for real.
Exactly, exactly. And you
Yeah.
you never know. And I will tell you that it is
Like,
usually the quiet ones who are the freakiest.
yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there. We will go deep in
Yeah.
that episode. But
Yeah.
are there times that you get extreme cravings, and do you go with those cravings? Like, or do you allow yourself to follow those cravings?
I wouldn't say extreme cravings.
Okay.
I mean, maybe sometimes if I like smoke and get the munchies, but other than
Hmm.
that, like, no.
So for me, I'll have very specific cravings. It's like it's not just I want sex. It might be I want to be kissed by this person. So I remember there are times where I have very specific cravings about people and places. It's like it's not just I want a kiss. It's like I want to be kissed by this person.
Yeah.
It's not just I want a touch. I want to be touched by a specific person.
Yeah.
Or Even when it's, if it's clothing, it's like I want a specific texture. Or if it's food, it's not just I want potato salad. It's like I want so and so's potato salad,
Mm. Yeah.
and I'm very specific about that. So, and I generally tend to follow those things and at least request them. There are times when I just can't get to whatever it is. But yeah, I do follow those specific cravings because I think that it sets me up for something that maybe there's an adventure there that my spirit team is trying to get me to.
Mm. Yeah.
I had an experience where I was living in Austin. I was craving, gosh, what was it? So there's a donut truck that's like down in South First, and I was craving going down there for a donut, but I didn't want to go by myself. So the craving was you want to call your friend and ask her to go down there with you. So I called her. She was at work, but she was working for a person that we both did some work for. And so she's like, well, I can't go down there right now. However, so and so, the person she was working with, asked for some chicken. And so she's like, if I order this, can you pick it up and bring it over and we'll pay for whatever you want? And I was like, okay. And so I ended up getting an entire free meal because I went through and started asking, I got very specific. I want to go and get a donut with Aisha. And
Mm.
then I call Aisha and she's like, we're doing this, blah, blah, blah. And so then next thing you know, I'm over there. And not only am I getting a free meal, but I'm also getting paid for doing something over there because I'm there, you
Mm.
know? And so that has been a thing where I just listen to the craving, whatever it is. And, whatever I want, I try and figure it out.
When you
I
say,
also, Mhm.
now I'm curious about what's a craving mean to you? Because now that you're saying all these other things, and I'm like, I guess I get extreme though. To me, what's extreme? Yeah, I get cravings all the time,
Mhm.
but I just do what I want most of the time.
Right.
So,
For me, it's more of a ping. So it's more of a you need this right now.
oh, okay,
And so that is kind of what I'm calling a craving. It's like a
okay,
ping, I
got it.
need this right now. Yeah.
Okay,
And yeah, cravings can be like, in the middle of the night, you crave Taco Bell or whatever. But for me, it's always more specific.
got
My team speaks to me and says, hey, you're going to want to go to such and such place. I don't feel like going there right now. You're going to go here and you're going to take this route. Okay. There's
it.
a faster route. No, you're going to take this route. All right. And so I get these pings, and generally there's a payoff at the end.
Got it.
So that has happened multiple times.
All right.
Even times where I feel like I need to go someplace and I feel like I'm running late. And then as I'm walking in, I'm running into a person who's walking out. And it's like, I need to see that person. And I probably would not have seen them had I been any earlier or had I been any later,
Heard.
you know?
Yeah.
So just kind of going in there and answering the craving, you
Mm.
know, giving yourself permission to.
Yeah, I've had cravings to just go do cardio and then run into somebody at the gym. I had to turn into meeting somebody who ended up becoming a new client or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
It's
and
like,
that's
okay, I never think about this, but here I am wanting
mhm,
to go to this restaurant, or here I am wanting to go to this store that I don't normally go to. So when I get the ping, I just answer. I used to fight it. Now I'm just, okay, we're
mm,
on.
mhm.
Let's see what's going on. Have you made it comfortable for the people around you, your friends, your partners, your children, to express their wants?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Hmm. How do we do that?
For me
But
in my house, it starts with the whole context of safety,
hmm
freedom from hurt, harm, loss, injury, pain, deficit, or death.
hmm
Also, those are seven aspects of violence. We start with the context of creating safety in our house, in our spirit, our mind, our emotions, our body, our ideas. And our children, my wife. I know I'm safe. We all have that same context of safety, and we start with that.
Okay.
Being it being safe for you to be your authentic self expression is what goes down over here.
And whatever that looks like, that's fine. So, and for me, it's like imagine what magic can be unlocked when
Mm,
you're listening to your inner desires and you're just following that,
mm,
and you are safe enough to make the request to ask for what you want.
mm.
You're not made guilty. You're not shamed for wanting it. It just becomes a negotiation of how do we get this?
Yeah,
How do you get fulfilled? How do you get happy? How do you get satisfied? And so I think that that's really important. And sometimes those desires actually are sacred and they're not necessarily secret. There's a difference between sacred and secret. And so many times people will say, oh, well, I need to keep this to myself or I need to suppress it. And it is so important for us to open up and to just create that safe space for people to make a request. And maybe it's not a yes, but it is a conversation and it's a negotiation, and it becomes, how do I get, maybe I can't give you, champagne and caviar every day, but maybe we can figure it out once a week,
yep, yep,
things like that do happen. And so I think that that's a beautiful space to do, especially since you have children, to create that space so that they are raised with that thought pattern
yeah.
in that cosmology so that they can again, pay it forward to their friends and eventually to their children should they decide to
Should
have
they
children.
decide? Yep.
Should they decide? Yes. All right. So if you could have a dinner party, any party you wanted, where would it be? What would be on the menu? And
Where
yeah, what would be on the menu and who would you invite?
where would it be?
Hmm.
I would have to, first off, I would be I don't even know where it would be right now because I would get on Google or Chat GPT and find where it's going to be. Seriously. Like I know places that I've been to, but I know there's much more gangster places.
But I mean,
So
is it about being gangster or is
for
there a
me,
space that, okay.
for
Is
me,
there a
when
space
I think of
that
a
you're
for
like,
me, when I think of I'm gonna have a dinner party and I'm gonna invite whoever I want to that dinner party, it's either gonna
mhm,
be at my house laid out with a private chef
okay.
in my big ass house on the lake, or
Hmm.
it's gonna be in a private dining room in a badass steakhouse. And I'm gonna have the steakhouse rented out. Nobody
Hmm.
else can even come in that motherfucker. So yeah, this I'm thinking through my dinner party right now. I might have the
Yeah.
whole steakhouse full
Okay.
and have the private dining, a private room for me and my closest.
Okay.
So who knows? But I don't know this name of the steakhouse. But if I had to pick one right
Okay.
now, it would be Del Frisco Steakhouse. When I worked at it,
Oh, Del Frisco's. Okay. Yeah.
Del Frisco's Houston,
Hmm.
that restaurant, and I would handpick my servers based on the servers I know,
Okay.
and then shit, who would be invited? Well, all of my immediate, my mom, my brother, their family, my mom's husband, my brother, his family, my dad, my little brother, my little sister, you, Ta, my wife's parents, my wife's
Hmm.
brothers and sisters' families, all of them will come. My best friend Chuck, my boy Brandon, my boy Steve, my boy Ken. I'd hit up Jimmy and Sammy. They would come. My boy Buddy. I would invite
Okay.
all gents. I would invite into the group,
Okay.
have everybody come who has this ring. Padmavati, Brittany,
Mm-hmm.
Mandy,
Mm-hmm.
my friend Cassie, and there would be some other condors there too.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm right now. I mean, I would invite my aunt Pam. That's all I can think about right now. I think I'm missing a few,
Interesting.
but it would be a big, giant celebration. I've added more people to it, but I have a vision of a celebration dinner that happens when I hit a certain goal. I'm having a whole bunch of I show up, me and my family show up first, and a whole bunch of other people start showing up to it, coming in the front door, valeting their cars. I'm standing there in a nice suit, directing people to the room we're going to be in.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a celebration dinner. I got that from Neville Goddard. I just added on a few more people.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
So for me, I have a specific location. I would rent out the buffet at the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas. And there's a reason for that because I would have the creperie do everything there. So there's a bakery that's kind of it's the patisserie that's right there
Okay.
across from it. And so I would have a crepe brunch. So nothing but crepes and quiche
Ooh,
and have everyone there. And the color scheme, of course, would be pastels, pinks and greens. And I would I would want, like, my one splurge guest would be Madonna, but
mm,
I would want everybody that gave me joy in one place. So there are some specific people that I would invite, and there are some specific people that I would not invite. I would invite Cole, Providencia, and Robbie. I would invite Darcy. I would invite Alana. I would have Wendy and Charlie there. I would have my godchildren there. I would have Shelly there for sure. But the important thing would be for me to have Madonna there and to be able to sit and talk with her and Bob the drag queen because she and Bob were good friends.
all right.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And maybe Monet, but I would rather have Bob over Monet.
Heard. Yeah, you got some famous people there.
Yeah. Like I have been watching Bob and his production company and how there are certain friend groups that have gotten together and created production companies. And I love seeing them as they are doing their own little vlogs or whatever, and
Mm,
seeing the behind the scenes stuff because one is like the front facing, like Bob does a lot of the front facing, but then there's his friend that is also, just kind of vlogging what's going on behind the scenes. And so you're able to see their professional persona as well as their what they're like just off time. And so that's a friend group that I would love to be part of, just to be hanging with them. And I think to all that is involved with it, to be a friend of Bob the drag queen would be absolutely fantastic
that's what's
with
up.
with everything that comes with it. And of course, all tides, big tides raise all boats. So
Big
I,
time. I never heard it that put that way.
well, because Bob is already big. So,
Yeah,
to be in his orbit would mean that I'd be raised as
yeah.
well
I
a
don't like
lot.
Bob the Drag Queen, but by what you're saying, obviously.
Yeah. And, because he's friends with Madonna. And I've had some close So there have been some celebrities that I've had interactions with or had some close calls with. But the thing is, I really, really want to meet and hang out with Madonna and Bob and all of his friends. Well, not all of them, but most of his friends.
Well, obviously it's going to be at a steakhouse, but I definitely have all the bone-in filet, the bone-in New York strip, the bone-in tomahawk.
Really?
Hell yeah.
That's so funny. If I was going for, well, I'm not eating meat these days.
Those would definitely be on the menu for sure. You can have the other steaks, but those steaks are going to be on the menu. Alaskan king crab truffle butter is going to be a topping option. Oscar topping, all the crab cake, all that you could add as a topping, and then we have the sides. Definitely sweet potato casserole would be one of them. Lobster mac and
Oh,
cheese would be one of them.
sweet potato casserole with or without marshmallows.
No marshmallows, just they put pecans on it.
Okay,
Oh my god.
that's the one I can't have.
Oh, why?
I'm allergic to pecans.
Oh, just pecans?
Yeah. Well, I'm allergic to several odd things.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
but
I was
pecans is a big one.
cool. Heard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting going to a place where, on a menu, like I didn't realize how bad my allergy to roasted garlic was until I went to a plated dinner where there were two plate options. And so one had strawberries, but it was only in one course. That's another thing I'm allergic to. And the other one had roasted garlic all the way through. Just being in that dining room set me off. I went straight into migraine. It was a New Year's Eve, and it
Mhm.
completely ruined the whole thing because I was smelling the roasted garlic. I can't have the roasted part. So
Huh.
interesting. All right. So now I want to take this opportunity to give all of you permission to want whatever you want. It's not a promise that you'll get it, but it's good to want it. And to be able to make the request, you're at least opening up the conversation. So, and maybe you can negotiate yourself into it. And I see that happening for you. And I think that that would be absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So if you're lucky, you just might get it. And if you're
Yep.
inspired by any of the questions asked today, or if you want to make a comment, please comment your wants below or send them to us. So please like and follow us for more. Check out our links in the description and share this with a friend or two, or three, or four. If you have any questions or topic suggestions for us, please send them to the permission portal at gmail.com.
Mhm.
And remember,
The portal is always open.